it as far as Reverend David Alexander is concerned. This is his final offering for November. And here it is. He's called it the ultimate sign, the ultimate sign. And the first quote is Tat Tsavam Asi, which means thou art that. And it's from one of the Upanishads. It's the Chandogya Upanishad, and then the reference is 6.8.7. And the Upanishads are the second series of writings in Hinduism. The first major series were the Vedas, which obviously came first, and then the Upanishads came later from, I don't know, somewhere around about 200 before the Common Era until, well into the Common Era. So that's where it's from, folks. Let me see. And the next quote is from Ernest Holmes, of course. Second quotes are almost always from Ernest Holmes. From the New Thought Dictionary. It's on page 60. And he says, in the universal, it is God, the living spirit almighty. In the individual, it is God, the living spirit individualized. Then he says, I am that I am, which means God. So he's going to explain it a bit later, so I'll read out what he's got to say later, and then I'll come back and I'll give you my take on it. And if I sound nasal, yep, I'm still getting over whatever it was that I acquired. This is Reverend David, who says, the other Reverend David, right? Who says, we have all asked for signs. At crossroads of uncertainty, we've plead for clarity. Make it clear, write it in the sky, paint it red. He says, we crave direction, confirmation, a glimpse of something beyond our own questioning minds. He says, but what if the greatest sign has already been given? What if the ultimate answer came not in thunderous proof or grand gestures, but in the quiet, timeless revelation heard by Moses at the burning bush? And this is from Exodus, the second book in the Hebrew Scriptures. We have Genesis, then we have Exodus. And in the burning bush, he hears a voice that says, I am that I am. When Moses meets God, quote unquote, and he's told to go back to the people, and he says, who shall I say sent me? And the voice simply says, I am that I am. And then Reverend David goes on to quote, or in the ecstatic declaration of Al-Halaj, who says, I am the real. Or the Upanishad's simple, boundless truth, I am the absolute. If all this seems a bit odd, I'll get around to the point shortly. He says, every tradition points to this. Well, I would say every mystical tradition points to this, and lots of other traditions point to this, the I am that I am. He says the most profound sign is not out there, it's the indwelling recognition of what we already are. The I am within us needs no validation. It does not prove, it simply is. It does not rise or fall with circumstances. It is the essence of all paradox. Loving what once felt unlovable, the stillness beyond every story. It's your story and it's my story. Perhaps devotion itself is not the desperate request for signs from the universe, but the daily turning toward this one sign, the eternal, unshakable presence that quietly says, I am is who I am. And the first I am is capitalized, and the second one is small I am. Ernest Holmes echoes this endlessly. He says, as do all sages and wisdom traditions. They meet in this same understanding, all seeking ends, not in answers, but in being. All roads point home. The truest sign you will ever receive is your own being awake to itself. So you want to look at it another way, that we we're all expressions of one divine source. So in this sense, when you and I do something, we are God expressing itself as us individuals. A tree that stands there is expressing God. A stone is expressing God. A planet, the solar system, a galaxy, constellations, the universe itself is expressing God, spirit, the all, whatever you want to call it. Whatever it was that produced the Big Bang, and who knows how many Big Bangs there were. So depends whether you believe in one universe or more. But the whole point of this is that we are each individual expressions of one source. And oftentimes, the place that we need to look for the answers is within ourselves. Just as Jesus kept saying, and I've pointed out a bunch of times, Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. The kingdom of God is within you. Look inside for the answers. The answers are not to be sought outside. Yeah, there are signs outside, of course, but ultimately we have to be at home with ourselves and we have to seek answers. Does it mean we don't go and seek help from outside? Does it mean we don't go and listen to good things, read good stuff, be in community? No, of course not. But what it means is that ultimately we interpret that within ourselves. So he finalizes all of this with his affirmation, which is, I rest in the greatest sign of all. I am, capitalized, is who I am. I rest in the greatest sign of all. I am is who I am. And is it something that we humans can fully grasp? No, because we're dealing with the infinite. We can understand ourselves and where we are. Just a couple of things. We're going to have a couple of, well, we have several classes coming up sponsored by Creative Life Spiritual Center. One is a basic foundation course in science of mind, religious science, which is very much similar to Unity. And that is going to be starting in January, and I'll be teaching that with one of our practitioners. And then we have a more advanced one, which is about meditation. So I will be posting more information about this as we get nearer the time. So I think my voice is about to give out, so I'm going to end this now. And thanks very much for watching it. Please, if you like the messages that we send, please, please, please pass them on, because don't keep good stuff to yourself. Share it. And if you want to explain it in your own way as you share it, fantastic, because we each have individual ways of looking at life. So until next time, my colleague, Reverend Lisa, Creative Life Spiritual Center's Facebook page, 9:15 tomorrow morning. I'll be back on whatever social media you saw me, somewhere in the region of 5 o'clock Central Time tomorrow. So until next time, namaste.